All right, Brown, we're waiting on you, buddy.
Here we go.
We'll do it.
.357 Productions is proud to present The Masonian, a monthly podcast for Freemasons with a focus on the grand jurisdiction of North Carolina. While not an official function of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, we operate with the full endorsement of Grand Master Bryant Webster. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants and in no way reflect the opinions of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, its members, or any appendant bodies. 357 does not own the rights to this music. We have sent Metallica an email asking if we can have the rights to it. Until then, we don't.
They said
no.
no.
Nada.
We still love them, though.
That's right. That's right. So tonight we're here. I'm here with the pack leader.
Small. We're keeping it in a small circle tonight.
Daytona beat Sean down at the end.
Daytona Brown.
Daytona Brown.
All right.
So just me and you, man. We're doing it tonight.
Let's do it. So we're messing with Brown because, you know, we feel like we're a team here. Matter of fact, we're gonna have a little counseling session right here on this show. We feel like we're a team, right? I mean, we're good enough buddies, and we're brothers. We're in the same lodge. We've known each other a long time. I mean, I feel like Brown has let us down. Brown, for everybody we know, because our feelings are tremendously hurt by this. Brown takes off last week before last. I don't know, he was gone so long I can't even keep up with what week it was.
That's right.
Without telling anybody, and goes to Daytona with this guy that like does motorcycle racing.
It's kind of famous or something. His wife's kind of famous.
Yeah, his wife.
In a motorhome.
Yes. And hauled their motorcycles down there and hung out with all these really rich and famous people. He's got pictures of pools and dogs and hookers and alligators. I don't know what happened down there, but all I know is he was off the radar. He would occasionally send us some kind of inappropriate picture. His wife didn't know when he was coming home. She was worried to death about him. I was so jealous. I mean, and I missed him
just
so
eat
much
up with it.
I shed a few tears.
We feared for your well-being.
I wasn't even gonna let him come back at all. Period. But I missed him so much. When he got back, we brought him back into the fold. You know, our wayward son coming home. But yeah. Brown, how was it? Did you have a good time, buddy?
Well, you know, sometimes we lose our way.
In the words of Mike Daniels.
Well, but next time you lose your way, how about taking your buddies with you?
Okay.
We wouldn't have gone without you.
I'm sure of that.
Anyway.
Would Sean Thatcher have left us?
No, even Sean Thatcher wouldn't have left us.
He would not have left us.
He'd at least give us a call, say, hey, you know, I'm at this indiscreet location. How about y'all want to ride on down here and hang
rendezvous?
Out? Anyway, Brown, we love you. I'm glad you had a good time. In all seriousness, it sounds like it was a lot of fun. I've never been to Daytona for Bike Week. Have you?
Yes.
Is it great?
It is.
I'm the only one that hadn't been?
Yes.
What's up with that? I gotta get better friends. Huh?
I didn't leave you though. That was before. I didn't leave you.
All right,
Sean.
I don't even want to go to Daytona now.
Yeah, it's ruined.
Sure you do.
Yeah, you guys ruined it for everybody.
I'm never going.
Oh man! And so I'm going to make an announcement here. It seems like every other episode that we do, we're talking about something new that Riley has got. First had a new baby. And then a couple months later, you had a new house, and now you got a new job.
New job.
So tell us what you've been doing and what you're doing now.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I work at Montgomery Community College, and I've been there for it seems like a lifetime, 12 years, working in student services, and I was just promoted to emergency management director and healthcare director for continuing education. So.
Sounds like Brown needed you last week. That would have constituted an emergency at Daytona. I'm sure he had several down there.
That's right.
So what do you like? You know, teach people how to manage crises and stuff?
No, I'm just going to be managing all of our classes for law enforcement, fire, EMS, healthcare, NRA, so all the cool stuff.
Tough job. Somebody's got to do it. I'm really happy for you, buddy. your life just keeps getting better and better. every
Radio
time.
station's getting ready to go up.
When?
We've got the money for all the equipment, so we're meeting with a sound engineer from Greensboro. Actually, we're going to tour a radio station if you guys want to go.
Which one?
One in Greensboro. It's a private company, but they're going to let us in. They're wanting us to show us what they've got April the 3rd. So
That sounds really cool. So will people be able to that aren't in this location? Can you stream it?
absolutely, we're going to be streaming. So
We'll
tune
plug.
in.
We'll plug the crap out of it when you get it. Actually, pull the chain on it and get it going.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm really happy for you, buddy. I'm happy for our whole team. I'm glad Brown got to go to Daytona. Sorry, Rascal, and I'm really sorry that happy that things are going good for you. So
I appreciate it.
All right, so that's our personal stuff out of the way. How long did that take? Brown, what time what's our out time, my friend?
We started about 7:20.
Okay. So we really don't know. Is that what we're saying? We'll go with 8:20. We'll shoot for 8:20, and we'll, about 8:40, somebody throw something at us, and we'll quit because we got a great show tonight.
That's how we
just
roll.
the both of us. That's right. A couple of redactions from last week. Apologies. I got a couple of facts wrong. When you don't actually do any research for a program, and you just kind of throw numbers off the hip, sometimes probably more times than not, they're inaccurate. You remember I was saying that, here's the easy one. I was talking about the inner circle of folks, and people in kind of leadership positions other than Blue Lodge masters, and I estimated it at 300. Well, the Grand Master informed me it's closer to 400, so that's not bad. Still, you're bumping.
That's close. That's close.
That probably bumps you up a little over 1%. We don't really know how many Masons there are in North Carolina, so we can't do a percentage. But that's a little over 1%. It's better than I thought.
That's right.
Still a few people, that there's probably more room there for a few more cows. Here's the big one I got wrong. Brown, we'll just make this an episode every month. Well, all the stuff that we got wrong from last month. We'll keep a running list.
Our apologies.
A list of all the apologies for all the inaccurate things that we say.
Hey, that'd be kind of cool. We could do a thing like Jimmy Fallon's thank you cards. We'll just do I'm sorry cards, and we'll just, we're sorry.
I'm sorry. I got this completely upside down and wrong. Sorry I was off by 175% on my numbers. Anyway. Talking about certified lecturers, and somehow I got it in my little pea brain that we only had just over 100. I don't know where that number came from. Probably my imagination. But Mac reminded me that we have about 380, give or take. So 380 is pretty good. You have to take out of that number after you've been a certified lecturer for so long, and it's like 25 years or 30 years. Mac's going to be on me again because I should have again fact checked all this. But after some number of decades of being certified, then they give you like a lifetime certification. You don't have to test out anymore. So they have some guys that are like in their 90s, 80s and 90s that really don't test out and don't do work anymore. But still, it's a lot more than I thought it was. So most of the time when we give you misleading information, we're going to let you know about it.
Yeah, we'll call ourselves out.
unless it makes us look like absolutely complete fools, and then we'll try and cover it up.
That's right. We'll blame somebody else.
All right, so really lucky in life. I watched. We had Wilkerson College Session 2 this past weekend. We're shooting on the 21st of March. You guys won't get this until the 1st of April. But this past weekend, Wilkerson College Session 2 was in Greensboro. Went really well. We got a really great class. They give us a lot of feedback and a lot of good comments. One of the big winners of the day as far as instructors was Most Worshipful Brother Doug Caudle. Super guy. He's, of course, past Grand Master. He's the Master of Sophia Lodge, which we're all in. Super good guy, really good mentor of mine. And he was talking about mentorship. That was his program. The students just loved it. I did a quick check of the student evaluations last night. I hadn't tallied them up yet, but I ran through all of them. And he just killed it on that. I mean, everybody loves him. They love that topic. And it got me to thinking while he was doing the program about my mentors. And I've really picked up a couple here lately, and they're going to remain nameless because we don't want them to get any of the blame for any of the stupid stuff we're going to say either here or at any other place or time, which is apt to just follow. The wheels can run off of it any second.
That's
right?
probably a safe bet.
Anyway, so I've picked up a couple of mentors, and they know who they are, and I really appreciate them. So one of them is a Grand Line Muckety Muck. one of the muckety mucks in the Grand Line. And for whatever reason, we just had to have a lot of contact over the last year, and I've just learned a lot about myself and how to do things. And so he called me because, I don't know if he called me just to talk about this or we wound up talking about this. I think he had some pretext to call me, but I think this was probably the point. We're kind of hawks on this Prince Hall thing, right?
Sure.
I mean, me and you've been all over.
Yeah, we beat it to death, don't we?
The lodges that doesn't have it. And, with the stuff that's going on in Tennessee and in Georgia, we're pretty hawkish on that. And this mentor of ours, mine, that just really wanted to remind me that even though there's an awful lot of these states that are unrecognized in each other, and they have their reasons for doing that, right? So just to set the stage for the folks that don't know, the Grand Lodge of Tennessee has a brother who they found out was gay, and they proceeded to kick him out. There's more to the story than that. I'm not going deep into it. That's not really our thing here. But and then Georgia, just right after that, adopted some of the same language. I think they had an edict, and what exact legal mechanism they all used is, I'm not sure, and it's a little different. But basically, we preach on this show tolerance for our brothers, no matter what race or religion or creed. If they believe, in a supreme being, and they take the same oaths that we do, then me and you, feel that they are our brothers,
Afforded the same rights.
Yeah. So this mentor probably saw coming down the pike that I was going to get up on a fence post and start crowing about this issue, and reminded me that we certainly are free. He told me, he said, y'all are free to take any stance you want on your show. I'm not calling and telling you what to do, but he wanted to remind us that taking the high road and living tolerance instead of sometimes calling it out as the thing to do. But sometimes, and this is where he got me, and I'm going to use my words, not his, but over a long conversation, one of my favorite sayings is, you can't save the sinners if you don't get in there amongst them. And he reminded me that North Carolina, I certainly am not speaking for the Grand Lodge of North Carolina in any way, but North Carolina is in a little bit of a unique position in that we border two of those states. We border Georgia and Tennessee, especially in the mountain areas. He reminded me that it's easier for guys from Georgia and Tennessee, in some cases, to get to North Carolina lodges than it is their home lodge. I mean, they live close to the border. They interact. Our Masons from North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia in that part of the state interact with each other a lot. A lot of them work together, job places and whatnot. So, if North Carolina were to take the stance that California or D.C. did, and everybody expects more to start doing this, then they wouldn't be able to visit us, and we wouldn't be able to visit them. And if you can't visit one another, then you can't influence the way people think about Prince Hall issues or gun issues or gay issues or any other issue, right?
That's right.
You
close the door.
Yep, close the door. And so then, you've made your point by saying, washing your hands and saying we're done with you because we disagree with you. But you can't change anybody's opinion if you just slam the door in their face and don't have any conversation, right?
That's right. Turn your back to them. You can't talk to them.
So, in light of that, we'll not have much to say about that other than I hope that all Masons everywhere, in every Grand Lodge, in the Grand Lodge of Tennessee and Georgia and North Carolina and California and D.C. and the Netherlands or wherever that other place was, Belgium, and Virginia and Idaho and everywhere else, will continue to recognize each other as brothers as best they can, work through their problems, and try to influence each other with a civil tongue, which leads me to my next point. Cassie, she can't get up on the stool. She doesn't know what to do. So, I think, let's talk about guns first, and then we'll come back to that.
All right, guns.
I don't know if you know this, but guns are a big issue. So there was an incident in, where was this, Wisconsin, where some guy was going to go in and shoot up a lodge, and he didn't make it, so he got caught before he actually made it to shoot up the lodge. But this is reinstituted a conversation about guns, and so all these different Grand Lodges are issuing all these different policies. On the issue that we just talked about, tolerance in general, and on the issue of guns specifically, all of these are issues that really polarize people to one side or the other, right?
That's right.
When I was in the military, we were taught that you were to respect the rank of the guys above you, especially when it came to the officers. You know, when we were talking about, you know, our
chain of command.
Yeah, when you were talking about your squadron commander or your company commander, you know, your base commander, you may not like what those guys have to say. They were your boss, and sometimes you didn't like what they had to tell you. But you respected them. You talked to them in a civil manner. And I've always lived my life like that. Sometimes, like with our fire chief, I wanted to choke him. I would like to call him dirty names and punch him in the nose when he made me mad, and I'm sure he felt the same way about me when I made him mad, which I too often did, right? But he had enough respect for me, and I had enough respect for him in his office that I didn't do that. He was a fire chief. You know, I may have wanted to do those things, but I didn't, but out of respect.
To the position. To
the position, that's right. And even, you know, him personally, when I would think that he was personally off base, you know, I still respected him enough that I did, you know, even though I disagreed with him, I could talk to him civilly. Jonathan Underwood's going to be on here in a couple of weeks, and me and Jonathan had a really bad Masonic disagreement here 6 months or so ago. And I thought that he was very wrong, and he thought that I was very wrong. But I didn't call him names, and I didn't call him stupid, and I didn't, you know, belittle him in what I perceived as his wrongness, and he didn't do the same to me. And we both still think that we were wrong about that issue, but we're brothers, and we're civil enough that we can get past it. So whether it's your leaders that you're talking about or just your brothers, you have, I think, an obligation as a man.
A duty. Mm-hmm.
As a man, you have an obligation to be able to have civil discourse with somebody without reverting to calling them names or threatening them or being
or to
disrespectful to them.
Not just to their face, but to other groups as well. So, just be aware, if you listen to this show and you are disrespectful to the rank of some of your brothers, and especially to your Grand Line officers, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. I'm just going to remind you, which yelling at them only brings you down to their level, but I'm going to remind you that, you know, we should respect each other. And we have to be able to disagree. Politics is is that a mess right now. On a national level, we have some real polarizing candidates running, and I don't care what your politics are, but man, there is a lot of disrespect out there. Yeah.
You see people at rallies that are getting fights,
punched out, walking out,
and yelling and screaming, and it's just Of course, politics has been that way for a long time. They apparently in the 20s, the Democratic convention had a knockdown, drag out, with fights and sticks and clubs, and really bad. Politics has always been contentious, but we need to be able to rise above that.
We're better.
As Freemasons, we're better than that. So everybody just keep that in mind, and we're going to take the high road on all of those issues. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you something goes on in lodges that you don't know goes on in lodges. The last time I told an allegorical story that had a meaning to it,
I was going to say, did we ever get anybody to respond back to that?
I gave one T-shirt away for a guy that kind of figured it out, but I had to give him some leading questions to get him there. But mostly nobody knew what the hell I was talking about.
I got you.
So I'm going to do it again. So it was so successful last time, I'm going to do it again.
I'm excited.
There are guys around in different lodges all over the state that are esoteric guys. They just kind of lean that way. Esoteric's a word that we don't use a lot, but we're not really. My mentor told me not to be afraid of it if it was the right word to use. And they're just guys that are in the more philosophical and deep meaning of what Masonry is. And some of those guys talk about that openly. But most of them, especially the ones that are really into it and really understand it and really think about it and really are walking a spiritual path, they don't talk about that in Lodge. They just know that if you bring that up, that people, the majority of the guys in the Lodge are not down with that. That's not their thing, right?
Some of them, they don't understand it.
They don't understand it. It's not their thing. So most of those guys that are really esoteric will sit in Lodge with you and plan the barbecue dinner coming up, and they'll talk about paying the bills, and they'll maybe, listen to or do a Masonic education piece, but they don't go too deep with it. And there's lots of guys that sit in Lodge with you that are like that, and you never know it, right? So they are esoteric, and they have their esotericism with them, but they don't bring it out in Lodge. And they don't brag about how they got their esoteric part of them. And they don't have to show off their esoteric part. And they don't have to talk about whether they have a legal right or not to be esoteric. They just quietly keep their esotericism buried within them. And they only pull it out if, the right time arises for that. So there's an allegorical lesson. You can figure what that's talking about. That could apply to something else. Allegory being a story that has a moral lesson that can apply to something else.
Got it, man.
There's another application.
I'm digging it.
All right. Free T-shirt, whoever figures that out first. I ordered us more T-shirts the other day. Did I tell you?
No.
I ordered more T-shirts, and I got, kid sizes.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we'll give some to the kids at the children's home.
That'd be fun.
What happened there was Blackmer. Hey, here's a quick announcement for the home team.
That's right.
The URA Mountain Rumble is coming up April
16th.
This is a motorcycle ride that raise money for the charities. This starts at Blackmer Lodge, which is in Mount Gilead, North Carolina. There's flyers that you can go find. There's a URA Mountain Rumble Facebook page. You can go to the Blackmer page and pick it up, or go to any of our pages, and you can probably find a link to it. The Knights of Solomon, the Charlotte crowd is at 704. No, 7, whatever they are. The Charlotte chapter of the Knights of Solomon are going to actually open lodge at Blackmer. Everybody is welcome to attend that. That's a Mason. That starts at noon. And kickstands up at 2 p.m. We'll ride for probably 2 hours, and then we'll wind up back at our restaurant where we will have a band, a fabulous meal. You get all that for $35 and $15 for passengers.
Right.
And if you don't ride a motorcycle, you can come and just eat with everybody at the Ford place. And we're doing water tickets just for meals. Is that $15? Did we say?
No, I think it's included in your ticket. In your $35 ticket, you get a meal.
I'm talking about for people who don't ride. I know they were talking
15.
about it. 15 if you just want to come and join the brothers and eat a meal.
15 for just the meal. That's right. So we hope that everybody will come and participate in that. If you ride motorcycles, it's a great day, and we really hope that you come and join us.
Start time's 1:30.
Kickstands up at 1:30?
1:30.
All right. Stand corrected on 1:30. But come on to the meeting if you can, and we would love to have you. I was going somewhere else with that before I got off on the Rumble. I guess it's not that important.
Our T-shirts.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
T-shirts for kids.
Talking about our T-shirts. So what happened was we, from last year, we ordered too many T-shirts, and we didn't sell them all. So we're getting ready to order new T-shirts for this year. We do a new T-shirt every year. We didn't know what to do with them, so Sean came up with the idea of taking them to the children's home and giving them to them. So we did. And then we got all sort of fabulous notes from them. The kids really liked it. They got something tangible that they could touch instead of just dollars, which the dollars are very important. We want you to continue to support the home with your money. But it was really cool to give the kids a shirt. They really enjoyed it. The problem was they were mostly adult sizes, so I guess the little kids didn't get any. So,
Or they have a nighttime shirt.
or then they got a sleepy shirt.
That's right.
But this year we're going to order enough Rumble shirts to give them all. And I don't know if I got enough T-shirts of ours to give every kid one, but I got a bunch of kid shirts, so we're going to give them some 357 shirts too. How about that?
Very cool.
You reckon they can? They'll love that. They'll love our logo.
Yes, they will.
You reckon their parents will let them wear that? There's nothing bad in there.
There's not a thing bad.
I like it. It's just a picture of Brown. Looks kind of like Brown, doesn't it?
And this Thor helmet.
All right, I think I covered everything there. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're good. All right, so you're not going to believe this, Riley. I'm going to do a long lead in to what we're actually going to talk about.
I'd have never guessed that.
Hey, man, you know what? I talked to Sean Bradshaw this weekend, and you know what he told me? Now, he's supposed to be my friend. You know what he told me?
No telling.
He said, Ben, why do you have all these guests come down to the to do the show when you don't ever let them talk? I said, I let them talk.
You've got some harsh friends.
I know.
Yeah.
Keeping it real. In the words of Ben Wallace, that cannot be true.
Please jump in here anytime.
Hey, I get input.
All right, here's the long lead in. I'll try to keep it to 5 minutes. So last month, we were supposed to be talking to Rob about Knights of Solomon Motorcycle Lodge, but we spent the first 45 minutes or so talking about something completely different. We got off on a tangent. And that something different was this. As guys come up through the ranks of their Blue Lodge, and they get to be master, and then they get to be past master, there's some really good talent there that can be used at a higher level. But there's not. This is how we got to this 300, 400 number that I had at 300, and the Grand Master has at 400 of folks that if you don't teach it, if you're not a DDGM, DDGL, teach at Wilkerson College, teach at one of the boot camps, which isn't that many folks, and mostly they're the Wilkerson College folks, or you don't serve on a committee, then there's not a lot for you to do. There's only, 9 Grand Lodge officers, and of them, probably only 7 of them are actually line officers that change. I mean, secretary and treasurer don't move up. So, there's not that much for you to do at the Grand Lodge level. But there's a ton of talent that goes out of the East in their Blue Lodges that sure could be used in some way if we could find a way to use them. Parallel that on the fact that we think, this is what me and Riley do. When we're up here, when we're not shooting this show, when we're just sitting around and we have our families over, and instead of talking about about our families, we're over here in the corner talking masonry, right? So me and Sean and Riley and Jeff Morris and pretty much any other guest, Grandy, wind up talking about masonry and all the things that we see that could be changed about it. So paralleling with that is the idea that we have a lot of lodges that are to some extent dysfunctional. Somewhere between completely not functional at all and have some problems that they could use some help with. Of course, there are a lot of great lodges, and there are a lot of middle-of-the-road lodges. But if you take that kind of bottom 10% of lodges in performance, then those guys need some help, and they're not getting identified. So this is part of the problem. We're going to come back and talk about solutions in a minute. But the first thing you got to do if you're going to help those lodges, somebody's got to identify them. Somebody's got to say, hey, this lodge over here, they're a mess.
Or that specific lodge.
Or they could self-identify.
The administration needs to step up and say, hey, we got some issues.
Yeah, somebody. But it seems like it doesn't happen because me and you both know lodges.
Very prideful.
Yeah, a lot of pride there. And they need to change. They're stinking up the joint, right? So what happens when they stink up the joint is that, their work is bad. Their initiatic work, and their building goes to pot, and their attitudes are bad, and when they get candidates, the candidates have a bad experience because of all that. So they start this downward spiral where they really become not a good lodge. All those things are wrong in the lodge. They don't have any money. Their building and grounds look like snot. They don't have strong leadership. Their ritual work is bad. So then they get candidates in, and the candidates have a bad experience. So they don't come back. So then they're not getting any candidates. And then what happens in places like this, we're a small rural county. We got, 26,000 people or so in our county. 28,000 people in our county. And we've got 5 little towns in our county, and kind of everybody knows everybody, and half of us are related in one way or another. So let me ask you this, Riley. We live in a town, right? I don't want to call the name of the town, but we live in a town. And we go to lodge in another town, next town over. 15 miles down the road is where we go to lodge. So if a brother, so the lodge that's really close to where we're sitting here is one of these dysfunctional lodges. I'm not casting any stones at these brothers. I try to help them out.
It's just what it is.
It is what it is. I do their funerals, their installations. We help them with their degree work. If you show up there for their stated, you're going to sit in a chair because they don't have enough brothers to fill it. They're just bad, and their candidates are not non-existent. So if a friend of yours that's not a Mason comes up from this town where we all live and says, "Hey Riley, I hear you're a Mason," you say,
Absolutely.
"Hey Riley, I've been thinking about it. I've been watching some of this stuff on the History Channel, and my granddaddy was a Mason. I think I might want to be a Mason. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
How do I do that?"
Well, I'm a member at Town B, and we're really active, and we've got a lot going on. There is one here, but they're just not as active right now, and I want you to get as much out of it as possible. So we got a breakfast going on next Saturday. Why don't you come on with me, and we'll go down here to this breakfast.
And you don't want to steal good guys away from them, but if you have a good guy, you know that he's going to have a bad experience there.
You don't want to do him a disservice.
You don't want to do him especially if you know him, right? Or if he knows
That's
you
right.
and he's trusting you enough to
Because that
come
looks
talk
bad
to you.
on you.
And not only does it look bad on you, but you just want him to succeed as a Mason. You want him to have a good experience. And you don't want to send him to this dysfunctional lodge. But at the same time, if you don't send somebody there, then they're never going to get any good candidates. Right. So they get into this kind of death spiral that they can't pull out of, right? So what somebody's got to do is A, identify it, and B, fix it. We're going to come back and talk about the fixes in a minute, but we're still on identifying, which is what we talked about last week. So who should figure this out? If they don't self-identify, which the one that we're talking about knows that they've got problems.
Yes.
They told one of their past masters told me, they said, "Ben, we've got to do something. We've got to either fix this or shut down or merge or something." And I said, "Yeah, you're right, you do." And but they don't know who to go to. Who are they going to go to? But if they don't self-identify and put up a cry for help, who should identify that?
Well, I think in the past it's been that not being in Masonry long myself, I can't. I'm just going on what I think. I think in the past, lodges that were in that kind of trouble were scared to go to the Grand Line because they were worried that there'd be a lot of repercussions come back on them, and or they would ultimately just lose out.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is the Grand Line now,
right,
would help them.
Yeah.
And I think they're scared to do that.
I think that's right. Who do you think, if they don't self-identify though, if they don't call and say, "Hey, we're in a tailspin, help us," who would be the logical person to figure out that they got trouble?
Your deputies.
Yeah, your DDGMs, right? So they're supposed to be in these lodges. So they're required to make one visit per year. And on that visit, I guess they have a checklist that they run. They look at their budget and they look at their records and they watch them open and close, and maybe they come to a degree one time during the year. But there's a lot of these lodges out there that are not getting help. So I think that they're not getting identified. And the point we made last week was part of that reason, Rob said, is because the DDGMs don't have time to get around to all of them and do a good evaluation.
True.
They bust up in there one time a year. They know they're coming. Maybe they spruce up that night.
Make it look good.
Make it look good enough. And then the DDGMs, even if they're hearing rumors or know that it's bad, they just don't have time to get there. Maybe your DDGM's the wrong guy. Maybe there's a better guy in your district to be the DDGM because maybe we didn't vet them very well. I'm sure that Grandmaster Webster, who I believe told me he was going to talk to every DDGM he was going to appoint, which is essentially a third of them. It's 3-year rotation. But even if you talk to a guy on the phone, the Grandmaster's from the mountains, he talks to a guy down in District 1 who he really doesn't know. He may have met him a time or two, probably not even that. Talks to him on the phone. Anybody can talk a good game on the phone. I can talk a good game on the phone. "Oh, yeah, I'm real zealous. I'll be in your lodges all the time and checking out, do whatever you want me to do." Then he doesn't do it because they don't have a good pool to pull from. They don't know anything about these guys other than some word of mouth. Some guy down in District 1 said, Joe Mason was a good dude. He'd make a good DDGM, or the DDGM before him appoints 3 guys. But if the DDGM sitting there now is the wrong guy, if he's not a good DDGM, he's not likely to appoint a good one.
That's right.
Because he has a misunderstanding of what they're supposed to do. If he's a slack ass and he's not doing his job, what makes you think he's going to appoint somebody
that's going to do a good job?
That's going to get in there and really,
make him look bad.
Yeah. So they're not. Maybe we didn't identify the right guy. Maybe we identified him as the right guy, and then maybe life got in the way. Maybe he had a kid. Maybe
something happened.
Maybe he had twins. Maybe he lost his job. Whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just tired. Maybe it's 2.5 hours across this district, like Rob said about his, and he's tired of going to lodge every Tuesday and Thursday night, and so he's not going as much as he should in that third year. So I think that we could do a better job of identifying them, and then once we identify them, what do we do then? Say somebody comes to this little lodge that's here close to us, our DDGM, and says, "Yeah, boys, y'all are a mess. We're gonna help y'all." Short of him walking in there and trying to help them do something, what help is there? I mean, there's not anybody to come to the rescue, right? There's not a good plan. They can call the Grand Secretary's office, and maybe Walt can help them, give them some good tips on what to do. But Walt can't walk in their lodge. Walt can't drive down here to Montgomery County every other Thursday and sit in their lodge and help them through problems.
Yeah, hold their hand while they're doing it.
Their DDGM should be doing that, but he's got to be in all these other lodges. And again, if he's not just the right guy, then he may not be hip on doing that. So who's the cavalry that's coming to save them? And the answer is nobody. Nobody. So some people will give them some advice. They'll pat them on the back and say, here's some ideas, try these. But nobody's going to come down here and actually hold their hand and walk them through this.
No, you're right.
Somebody needs to walk in there and say, all right, boys, team meeting. Y'all are a mess. We're either here because you asked for us or because somebody said you're coming. Or we need to be. That's right. And help them through it. And this is what me and you talk about all the time in Brown. And we call this the Lodge Rescue Team. That's probably not the best name for it. If by any miracle. Now, just as a disclaimer, me and Riley are nothing. We're a couple of past grandmasters of this little lodge that we belong to. I mean, we're not grand anything. We're this
grand
is just
pains.
Grand pain in the butts. That's right. This is a couple knuckleheads with an idea. And so if by some miracle this was to actually fly, we probably wouldn't call it Lodge Rescue Team. There's probably some better name for it. But we have this crazy idea that you could form some sort of a team to come in and do one of three things with these lodges. You either need to shut them down, and nobody wants to do that.
No.
We want to fix them.
That's right.
Merge them with another lodge, which sometimes may be the only option, especially in cases where they're like maybe sharing a building with a more successful lodge, or they're geographically pretty close to them. Ashboro, there's 699 and whatever that one is down the street. You could throw a rock just about and get one or the other. They're close enough you could merge them. If one of them was bad, they're probably both good lodges. But the other thing to do is fix them. So you're going to shut them down, you're going to merge them, or you're going to fix them, one of the two. So shutting them down is something that we're not even going to talk about here tonight because that's kind of a last resort option. They've gotten themselves in more trouble than just being dysfunctional if they're getting shut down, probably. Merging them is something that, if that's an option for them, then somebody can look at that down the road. But we want to talk about fixing them tonight. All right, so there's a zillion different ways that you could structure this thing. I do want to give credit where credit's due. Most Worshipful Brother Doug Caudle kind of started this idea in his year. It never really took legs, but he was kicking around the idea of having a team to go in where they had lodges where guys just weren't getting along. So he wasn't so much talking about just lodges that were failing in every aspect.
Just couldn't get along.
They had two factions of guys, young guys and old guys, or progressive guys and regular guys. Yeah. And they just weren't getting along. So it was go in, sit down, everybody, talk out your problems, and see if you couldn't work to some solutions, and then at least treat each other respectfully, and do the business in the lodge without being pissed off at each other all the time.
Right.
So, but we kind of morphed that into, over many conversations and dinners, into this whole idea of this whole lodge rescue team. So, if me and you were the team, Brown, you want to be on this team?
Of course.
Me and you and Brown are the team, right?
Well, he's got to film it.
Yeah, for the TV show.
It's going to be a reality show.
A reality show, that's right. Boys, we're going to air all your dirty laundry. And Brown's going to film it. Whoa. Okay. So the first thing you got to have is a team leader. So your team leader, and actually, the more I've been thinking about it, instead of having the whole team go in at once, you probably just need that one guy to go in, but he can call on these other resources, these other team members, or maybe they could go in all at the same time. You could kick all that around however you wanted to. But your team leader's got to be the guy that's going to do the talking to them. And it's got to be somebody like a Sean Bradshaw or a Doug Caudle or a...
Somebody demands attention
yeah.
when they walk in, as soon as they walk in.
And here's the real key. Here's the reason that me and you can't pull this off. Oh, we're Brown. Because when we saw that they were spending more money than they were taking in, we would say, well, that's stupid as hell. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That is not going to work. Whose idea was this? Y'all been doing this for 5 years. What's wrong with y'all? And you can't talk to them like that.
Yeah, you have to sugarcoat it.
When they're doing something completely stupid, I mean, you need that kind of guy that can say, all right, boys, let's step back here and look at this thing and look at some facts. A life coach. They got to be able to listen to some guy ramble on about his personal agenda for 10 minutes, not knowing that this is part of the problem, not part of the solution, but just to let him get it off his chest so that you could move forward with the conversation.
Yeah, you can't go in like the Ramsey fellow from Cooking and just screaming about it.
Or John Taffer on Bar Rescue.
Yeah.
That makes for great TV.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Doesn't actually work. Actually, it may work great. It seems to work for them, but
you're going to lose some brothers.
We're Masons. We can't do that.
That's right.
So you need that guy that's kind of more of an arbitrator kind of a dude, a facilitator can go in, and probably first thing you need to go in is just go talk to them. Then the next thing that they're going to need, all these lodges, for the most part, if they're really dysfunctional, I mean, if they're in bad shape, they're dysfunctional at every level. They may have one or two of those things that we talked about, which is money and building and grounds and their procedures and their ritual and their, how they get along, needing to do some healing. Probably of those factors, I just jotted those down, and I'm sure you could throw in 2 or 3 more. They're probably dysfunctional on 75 or 85% of those. They may have 1 or 2 areas. Maybe they got money, but they all hate each other. But probably on every level, they're in trouble. And the number one thing they probably don't have is money. And probably most of these places just don't have any money because they didn't raise their dues, because they couldn't get along enough or have enough foresight to raise their dues to have any money to keep up their building. So you would have to, one, look at their budget, so you need a money guy on the team, or at least that the team could call in. Old treasurer from a successful lodge that knows how to run a budget, shows them how to set up a budget, tells them when they got to have their reports in, can do a projection about what kind of capital needs that they've got. So they need to do that as kind of long-term money, and they got to talk through that. But the other thing they got to have is they got to have some money right now, because if they ain't got no money, then their building looks like crap, and the weeds are growing up outside, and it needs paint, and the carpet stinks, and nobody's cleaned it up, and the curtains are.
Nobody can be proud of that.
Nobody can be proud of that. So you got to fix that right away. So you don't have time for them to have to adjust their budget and fix their due structure.
Yeah, all this has got to happen on the fly.
So somebody's got to walk in with some money. Okay, first most controversial part of our entire thing. We think that the Grand Lodge could have some sort of fund somewhere that is like a matching grant. Say, or either a straight out, grant. Here's $2,500. You go buy yourselves a push lawnmower, or in a couple buckets of paint. Or it may be some sort of a matching grant. You probably could set that up where there's multiple ways you could do it. Or maybe a no-interest loan that they could get from the foundation or something. But could, surely somebody is smart enough to come up with some way, and you're not talking about giving out $1 million a year.
Right,
we're talking about getting a lodge, putting somehow in their hands $2,500 to $5,000 for them to start right away fixing up their building to generate some pride. Again, whether it's matching, whether it's a straight-out gift, low interest loan, somehow or another, you got to be able to put some money in their hands, and then they got to go do for themselves at that point, right?
Sure.
And they could raise money. Even this little lodge in this little town here, if somebody went to all their members, they've got enough men of means that don't ever come to lodge, but are members of that lodge, that could give them $300 or $400 or $500 a piece, and they could raise $2,500
Sure,
pretty quick.
and what I see is a lot of the lodges that we know that struggle are in the middle of town.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the funds you could raise if you just tap into your community.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you're right on. But they just kind of lose faith, right? And they don't notice. I think in the back of their mind, we talked about. I think we talked about this last time. You know that Febreze commercial where we'll be getting sued by Febreze now, but where the kid doesn't smell his own room and his mom walks in and says, "Oh, it stinks in here. You got friends coming over. It stinks."
Yeah.
And you got to Febreze it. It says that he's gone nose blind. It smells in there, but he doesn't know it, right?
Right.
You ever? Okay, we'll let that one go.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing.
But the same thing happens to their building, right? It's the dingy carpet and it's the bad.
They just get used to it.
But they get used to it, and they don't think that it's that bad. They know it. If they think about it, they know it. But they're just kind of used to it, and they don't pay any attention. But a visitor notices it right off. My God, this place looks like ass and feet. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
So, this guy that goes in to do this lodge rescue has got to say, all right, look, boys, first thing we got to do is clean this place up, and you got to have some money to do it. Here, let's get your money straight for the future. Let's get your money straight for the next, what we're going to do, our action report that we're going to do in the next 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 months.
There's got to be a plan that they can see.
Yep. And then you got to roll up your sleeves and go to work. You're going to have a series of meetings with these guys. You got to talk through their personnel issues, which they've probably got. They probably got factions not getting along. Somebody's got to have some counseling with them dudes to get them back on the right track. Somebody's got to work with them on ritual, because of all the things that they may be decent at, ritual may be one of them. But if they've gone that far, their ritual probably sucks.
Right, because they've not had any new candidates in quite some time. And if they do have candidates, then other lodges have been doing their work. Or at least that's our experience.
That's our experience. That's exactly right. And they can't open in October,
right?
Correctly, or even remotely close to correctly.
Right.
Or
do their installation, like we were talking about.
Yeah. So you not only have to have which that's the Board of Custodians purview as far as if they're not doing good work, but there's more to doing the work than knowing the words, and just teaching them how to treat a candidate, and how to love them up, and how to not be jackassing around during the third degree, and
take it serious. It's got to be meaningful.
Yeah, and make it deep, and use real candles, and you don't have to do all that stuff, but
there are things that they can do right out of the gate to make a turnaround.
That's right. Yep. So you're working on it. So you're working on all these different parts, and you probably got different team members coming in and working with them. But I certainly think that this is doable. You wouldn't want this guy to be from their district, probably.
That's right. Nobody wants to take orders from their friend.
That's right. So get a guy from the next district over, or somebody they don't know,
but
respect, and has some some clout about them, and come in. And I really think that there's a chance that this could work.
Yeah, no doubt.
Especially if you can get them to self-identify. Now, if you come in and cram it down their throat, that's a harder bridge to swallow. But I think your DDGM, if you're a DDGM and a Grand Line officer or a past Grand Master or somebody that was on this team, that was one of the guys, would go to the officers and say, hey, look, guys, before your meeting next Thursday, we want to have we're coming, we want to have a talk with you. Yeah. And take them in the back room and say, look, guys, we understand that you can run your lodge any way you want, but we've noticed all these issues with you guys, and you guys are in a bad way, and we would like the opportunity, we would like you to ask us to come help you.
That's right.
And if they say, nope, we don't need any help, y'all can just march your little tails back on to Raleigh, well, then you got some decisions to make.
Yeah, we can either do it the easy way or the hard way.
Or we can just let you go.
And we'll get it either way. I mean, that's the bare bone facts.
Maybe you may have to punch some of them in the nose. Some of them may not be bad enough that you just say, well, okay, they're not that bad, we'll just let them go. But probably
right. And for our listeners, you may be in one of these lodges. And if you're not in one of these lodges, I guarantee you know of a lodge just like what we're talking about.
Yep.
We're not making fun of these guys.
Right.
We're not trying to say they're doing it all wrong. They could have inherited the problem.
Yeah.
We're just saying we want to help. That's all we're saying.
Want to help them. Because ultimately, this makes, not only does it make all of us look bad, when the candidate comes in, you're losing those candidates. They may be good candidates. They may make good Masons if they just had a little support in their lodge. This is about making all of Masonry better. And ultimately, it's about helping. You're exactly right, Riley. It's about helping these lodges get back on their feet. And sometimes, all you need is somebody to come in and sit down and talk to you. Sometimes that's all they need.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't need this whole team to come in. Maybe they just need somebody to come in and say, "Look, boys, y'all are bad, and you need to get better." And they just hang their head and say, "Yeah, we know. Okay, we'll buckle down and do it."
And in the past,
Or they may go the other way, and they may give them the big hard one, but whatever.
Yeah, and in the past, I mean, I think our grand line, again, being a young Mason, I'm just talking from observation, but we may have had a grand line that kind of sugarcoated things. They might have said, "Well, okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt," and I hate to hear that. But now what we've got is we've got a grand line that is proactive.
Yeah.
And they will exhaust every effort to help a brother or a lodge out. But again, you've either got to self-identify or you've got to have those people in place that will come forward and say, "Hey, Lodge A over here is struggling, and we really need to do something about it."
Right.
So,
if these guys had some training, and I'm talking about the guys that would be on the team, I feel sure that we could put together some kind of training and for them to teach them how to go in and what to say and what not to say. Another thing is you need some continuity there, because a Grand Master is elected at the end of September. He's installed sometime in December, and then by October of the next year, he's kind of running a lame duck session there for the last couple of months, and then he's out. And so if a lodge is identified in, say, April, a DDGM says, "Hey, this lodge is in a bad way, needs some help," the Grand Master's probably going to have somebody go check it out, and they're going to talk to them and make some suggestions, and then follow up a couple of months later, and next thing you know, it's November, and the lodge isn't any better, but that Grand Master's already fixing to be out of office
out the door
in 12 months. So, they they can't take a personal interest in every lodge that's dysfunctional in the state. They don't have time for that. They need people for that. Brian Webster can't drive from Black Mountain to a Hosky, or no offense to a Hosky, but wherever, to some lodge down at the coast and personally fix that. He's got to.
That's why you got your chain
it.
of command. That's why you got your guys in places that you can trust to do that.
So what are we missing here? What's the downside to this, other than the fact that some of the lodges will be hostile to it?
Hostile takeover. Yeah, they're going to be. Some are going to be definitely upset that somebody walks in, pulls a pin on a grenade, and drops it. I mean, it's not going to go over well.
And so I don't know what you do with them. I mean, I don't know if the Grand Master comes in and
that's just going to take a little more finesse.
Talks about their maybe at that point you bring in a Grand Master or a Deputy Grand Master.
This is what's going to happen. Yeah.
Or maybe you just let them go and just say, okay, they're a law school. They don't want to fix themselves. They're not bad enough for us to shut them down. Just let them stay over there and be dysfunctional, and maybe in a generation they'll, have a new crop of guys. I mean a Masonic generation, and time their officer corps rotates through, maybe they'll get some good guys, and there's some hope. Maybe you just let them go, but you help the ones that won't help, the ones that
reach out.
Even if they didn't reach out to you and self-identify right off the bat, maybe you go talk them into self-identifying, saying, "Look, there's this program, it's new, it's really cool. We're going to come in, we're going to talk about all your problems. We're going to help you work through it." "Oh yeah, you got to self-identify though. You got to fill out this form."
How many people?
Oh, okay, I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, how many people would you say between you and I that have identified with us? Maybe just one person out of a lodge that said have come to us either personally when we're doing Masonic events across the state, or or by email recently, to say, "Hey, we just need some help."
Yeah.
A lot.
I almost never go anywhere that I don't have.
It's unbelievable.
I would say at least half of the times that I'm out at a Masonic thing,
somebody
that
approaches one of the
somebody
three of
will
us.
come up and say,
it's amazing.
Can you help us with some education?
Right.
We don't ever do anything.
We've got tons of examples that we could give, but I know during our Christmas event, Sean and I were eating dinner at a Masonic event. I won't name the event. And there was 3 guys sitting at our table that said, hey, you guys seem to have it going on. Hey, we've got some problems at our lodge. And they just unloaded on Brown and I. And we're just sitting there like, okay. And we just start trying to rattle off, question and answers on how to help them fix it. And, these guys had been longtime Masons versus Brown and I. And we, again, Brown and I, no point of authority for North Carolina or anything, or just rattling off ideas. And these guys are like, we've never thought about that. But they'd all been in lodge tons longer than we have. They had just not thought about it.
Yeah. And if they had sat down, they probably could have thought of all that themselves. But again, you just get caught up in your own little world, and you don't see any way out when the answers are right there in front of you.
You get so discouraged.
Sometimes you just need to talk to
A fresh set of eyes.
that you view as an expert. You guys are, none of us are experts. And what are we? We're new Masons. I mean, I've been a Mason for, I think I'm in my 8th year maybe, and you're a year or 2 behind me, and Brown's a year or 2 behind you. But we're relatively new guys. I mean, what do we know? We just like to talk a lot, but everybody thinks we're some kind of super experts just because we have a
because we call people out.
I mean, we lecture a little bit, and all of a sudden, everybody thinks we're some kind of expert.
But
we're not expert.
I think,
but we're willing to dive in and start throwing answers around, or at least possible solutions, or debating problems.
Our short terms as Masons, we've been so many different places, and so many people have addressed us with so many issues. Even though we're young Masons, we've seen a lot of different issues that are being faced across the board with lodges in North Carolina. So it didn't necessarily make us experts, but in a sense, we've kind of been there because we've witnessed all of it, or at least been a part of it anyway, where they've been telling us about it.
So if we were to try this, if one of the Grandmasters, either Grandmaster Webster, Right Worshipful Cobb, or some of them at some point along the line, was to say, sounds like a crazy idea they've got, but what do you got to lose?
Nothing.
I mean, say you put together a team and go to a lodge or 2 and you try it out. If you don't help them, if they're dysfunctional, and you go in with a team and try to help them, and you don't help them, they're no worse off.
That's right.
They were dysfunctional before you got there, and if you leave them dysfunctional, you hadn't hurt them. But what if you turned them around? And what if all of a sudden you turned a couple of them around, and then you put together a couple more teams?
Then you got something.
Maybe this can be, maybe it can help some folks.
Then I think you're going to have other states going, whoa, what are these guys doing over here?
At no cost.
Yeah.
You can find guys to be on these teams that will not charge mileage or hotel rooms or anything like that. They don't need any money other than we got to get them. The lodges are going to have some kind of seed money up front, because you're going to walk into a mess, I'm sure.
And if you've got problems, if you're listening to this podcast and you've got problems, shoot us an email. We're not saying we can fix it.
Why don't you give them your personal cell phone number there, Riley, and they can call you and talk
910. But in all honesty, though, I am excited. All 3 of us at the table know about this, but we do have a lodge, which we'll not say any names, that has contacted Ben with some issues. And they've reached out to him, just like we're talking about. They've identified, and they said, hey, we've got some issues. Now, Ben has responded back and given them several ideas, and some really, really neat ideas with some really heavy hitters that are willing to go to that lodge to help them. I mean, really heavy hitters that are willing to take their time and say, we will help you out. Now, they extended the olive branch. They told us the situation. You've given them some pathways to solutions. So we're eager now to find out what they say and what we're going to end up doing. But that could be really exciting. That would kind of be a first run of what you're actually talking about. And it's not sanctioned by anything, or it's no group that's saying, hey, we're all going out. It's just, it's just a group of brothers getting together to try to help one lodge out. So, I mean, it's exciting. I hope they follow through with it.
I think one thing you've got to do, though, with this team, or at least with this lead guy, is you can't. This is what we're doing now. There's plenty of people that will tell this lodge or a lodge, all right, here's what y'all need to do. You need to get a balanced budget, and then you need to plan some events and some fundraisers, and you need to mow your yard and clean things up around here, and then see if you can go out and get some candidates. Well, hell, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
They know what they need to do. They can't do it. They need somebody to hold their hand and sit down with them and say, okay, boys, we're going to plan a fundraiser. Everybody pull out your calendars.
And we're going to show up.
And we're going to show up. And you're going to do most of the work. And we're going to be right here beside you. And we're going to have a Boston butt sale. And you've got to help them do it. When it's time to mow the yard, you don't have to go mow their yard for them. But, this guy would need to say, all right, y'all schedule a lodge cleanup day. I'm coming by sometime. I'm coming by about 9 o'clock in the morning, and go hang out for an hour.
And if your lodge decides to do a motorcycle ride, we'll all show up. And I mean, we'll help you as much as we can.
That's right. I think you just got to put your arm around them and say, okay, now sit down, pull out your calendar, and let's schedule this. Let's do that. Let's work on your budget. You can't just say, y'all need a balanced budget. Go fix it. Because they're going to go back and they're going to say, okay, we're going to have to raise our dues. Oh, no. They're going to get a bunch of grief. Or even if they're just talking about balancing their budget, how much money do you put in for candidate aprons or something? Somebody's going to fight about that.
Yeah, you got to make it fun.
You got to have that arbitrator there to help them get started down that road.
And I think the guys have to see that even though it's going to be a tough task, it can be fun and entertaining. So, I mean, you got to have fun.
All right. Well, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth a shot. Let's do it.
I'm in.
Now we just need to convince some Grand Line guy to buy into this crazy concept and get the right guys on the team and think about what kind of training we need. But it's doable. So it's a great project for one of the upcoming Grandmasters to take really on as something that he could do in his year, I think. Of course, what do we know? It's easy for us to say. We ain't the ones got to pull it off. But,
hey, and we're not saying Bryant Webster can't do it. He's just already got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, he's deep into his year already.
Yeah, he's already into it.
I would like to pitch. So we done with that one? Have we solved that part of the world?
We solved that mystery.
All right. Well, look like we've done a good day's work. Yeah. We fixed all the dysfunctional lodges in North Carolina in one afternoon.
And we're done.
Yeah, we're done. I would like to give one shout out to the Grand Lodge Committee on Masonic Education. We've been very busy. We got tons of stuff coming up. The Speakers Bureau is up and running. We're fixing to start marketing it. I asked the Grand Master this past Friday. I said, because we need to market this thing now that we got the bugs worked out of it. I said, Grandmaster, what's your PR committee doing? And he said, well, they got some stuff maybe. And I said, you think they got time to help us out a little bit? Oh, yeah. He said, one of them guys on that committee, don't you? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, you go talk to him and tell him to do whatever you need. So we're going to talk about how we're going to market this thing here in a little bit.
That'd be awesome.
But the Speakers Bureau is a tool. If you go to the Grand Lodge website, go to the Masonic Education portion, go to Speakers Bureau, there will be a picture of all these guys that will come to your lodge and do a program for you in your Blue Lodge. Free, simple, easy, and wonderful.
And we're not just talking about a couple.
And a bag of chips.
Yeah, we're not talking about a couple. I mean, this is a whole list of guys.
Yeah, and it's just getting started, and it's going to be a very successful program. Please do this so that you can put education back in your lodges. Nobody wants to go read the minutes. So this is a good way to gain some interest. The other thing that's going to happen very soon, by the time this rolls out April 1st, we're going to probably be doing the PR on this. We're doing a complete teardown and rebuild of the boot camp system. And so this new thing, not to spoil it for anybody, but it's going to be called the William R. Davey Leadership Academy. It's going to run 12 months a year, it looks like. It's still in the planning phases, but we are going to have tryouts for new instructors. The Grandmaster charged us to go out and develop a new crop of young cadre of instructors. We love the Wilkerson College and old boot camp instructors, which are the same guys. I'm one of them. So we love the Jim Medlins and the Max Sigmans and the Larry Thompsons of the world. But we have to have young guys coming along too. So these guys have all been instructing for years. And they're going to continue to instruct for years at Wilkerson College, and they're going to help us, some of them, hopefully all of them, in the new system as like lead instructors. They're going to kind of help develop programs and things they already have, train the trainer kind of stuff for us. But we are going to develop new instructors for this, a lot of them. We're going to have tryouts. So if you want to interview to be one of these instructors, the dates are going to be May 7th. And I hesitate to give where we're going to do it because we haven't actually contacted these lodges. But somewhere in the east, we're thinking Goldsboro, May 14th, and that's going to be at Statesville. I'm doing Allegory and we're doing Restorations earlier that day. We're going to do it after that, and then there's a Wednesday kind of either between those two or very close to those two. So May, you'll see a lot of marketing on this. You fill out an application, you come. You do an interview, you'll do a little presentation, but it is a tremendous opportunity for guys that want to be instructors and want to help your brothers out and be in the training and development and leadership world of Freemasonry in North Carolina, which is in ascension right now. It's a good time to be in.
Awesome time to be in.
Yeah, both as a Freemason and as in a leadership role. This is a tremendous opportunity if you want to be in a leadership position in North Carolina. Please fill out the application. Please come try out. Please become one of the instructors. We need a lot of them, and we need good ones. And they're out there, and we're going to go find them. By golly, can't wait. How about that?
I like it, man.
'Cause I'm dead and bloated.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Masonian. For more information and productions, please visit and like our Facebook page at 357 Productions or our webpage at 357productions.net. You may also email us with any questions at 357productionsteam@gmail.com. Again, that is 357productionsteam@gmail.com. As always, tell people that you love them, and remember, we meet on the level and part on the square.